right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:33 for the Recreation Parks Commission. First, we'll just start by taking roll call. So Commissioner LaFleur.
Here.
Commissioner Ono.
Here.
Commissioner Siegel.
Here.
Commissioner Schofield.
Here.
Is that how, is it pronounced?
It's Briscoe Schofield, I have two last.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, Briscoe's. Schofield.
Schofield.
Schofield, got it, okay. Commissioner Marigo.
Here.
And Commissioner Mirza is not here?
No.
Okay.
Absent. And Annalise is absent.
Okay, and I'm here as well. So go ahead and move to item number 2, the approval of the agenda. So is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I make motion to approve.
Great, Commissioner
Second.
Ono? Commissioner Marigo seconds. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? There's 6 of us today, so 6 ayes and no 0 nays. All right, item number 3, brief announcements from staff, commissioners, and council liaisons. So we'll open up to staff first. Go ahead.
We have no updates tonight.
All right, well, that was quick. Any announcements from any commissioners? Nothing? All right, okay. And our, okay, all right, she's already waving me off now, so I'm gonna go ahead and move to item number 4, public comment. So we will open the public comment section. This is for the commission to receive comments, except for brief questions for clarification. No discussion or action may be taken on any item that is not listed on the agenda. During this public comment, a member of the public may address the commission on matters not listed on the agenda or are listed on the consent calendar. If possible, citizens should reserve their comments for regular matters listed on this agenda at this time. At the time the item is considered by the commission, speakers will be asked to line up at the podium and state their name for the record. Comments are limited to no more than 2 minutes per speaker. Do we have any public comment? Okay, great. Yeah, all right. Item number 5, the consent calendar. So all of these items are considered routine and non-controversial. They require no discussion and are expected to have unanimous support. The consent calendar will be enacted by one motion. Commissioners may request items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. We have the minutes from the September 17th Recreation Park Commission meeting and to receive the grant check from GSSA. My understanding is that there are maybe some amendments to the minutes, so go ahead and we can go ahead and discuss those now.
Yes, so I have a few corrections and additions. So one is that I have that the meeting was called to order by Chair Chambers, but you were absent. So it was actually by Vice Chair LaFleur. And then in the section C of the Willow Grove project, some additional comments were provided by staff. And so I'll just review what those comments were that were added. And then if you accept it through your motion, then I'll go ahead and make sure that that's added to the final version. So commission feedback and recommendations. To generally supportive of the park proposals and concepts. Inclusive playgrounds should have fencing to provide safety. ADA inclusive swings and equipment should be included. Dog parks are not a priority. Shaded gathering spaces are priority. Shade is needed by the playgrounds. Shade in general gathering areas. Sports courts should be multifunctional, example pickleball, tennis, futsal. Gymnasium is needed, must be full-size with multi-use, example basketball, volleyball, badminton. Interested in the cafe in the park, like the softball fields and overall design. Support for the buffer from Cobell Boulevard is provided by the parking lot and trees. Make sure informal areas for gathering are also provided, and maintenance needs and funding need to be considered for park staff. And those are all of the additions.
Go ahead. Anyone have any other comments? Don't need to be Okay, with those comments, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the minutes with those changes? Go ahead, Commissioner Siebel.
No,
Oh, you're making a motion to approve it. Okay, I'm sorry. When you raised your hand, I got thrown off.
second.
And a second by Commissioner LaFleur. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? And I will abstain. I wasn't at the meeting, so 5-0 to 1.
I will also abstain because I wasn't there.
Okay, great. Bob and I both abstain. Thank you.
Okay, and at this time, I'll go ahead and we'll do the ceremonial presentation with GSSA.
You're good.
I'm good. Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Jeff Morrow, and I'm the commissioner for the Greater Sacramento Softball Association. We do business as USA Softball Sacramento. And USA Softball is a national governing body of softball throughout the United States. There are 62 associations throughout the United States representing USA Softball, and we're one of 62. And our footprint for USA Softball Sacramento is fairly small. We go as far west as Dixon and Winters. Eastern side, we touch Lake Tahoe and the Truckee area. South, we go to Lodi, and then north, Woodland. And overall, we touch about 7 counties within that geographical area. Our mission as a nonprofit organization is to provide softball throughout the whole Greater Sacramento area. And that's for the, not only for the adults, but for the youth and senior as well. And as part of our mission, we'd like to make sure that we assist our local parks and recreation agencies. I think there's 32 agencies throughout the Greater Sacramento area that we work with. And we help provide some financial assistance through a grant program we set up about 30 years ago. Over those last 30 years, the Greater Sacramento Softball Association has awarded a little over $250,000 back to the public agencies and giving agencies a hand up financially to help with their softball facilities. This year, one of our grant recipients is the City of Davis. And we have awarded them $2,500 to assist in some maintenance or supplies for Playfields Park. And we have a little check that we like to always present to our grant winners. So I don't know if you want to take a picture and take a little photo op. No? Okay.
Smiling. Okay. Very good.
So again, we would like to congratulate the City of Davis for this grant award, and I'm here to answer any questions you might have regarding softball. If not, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well done.
All right. Are we good to keep moving on then?
Yeah, keep it rolling.
All right, so we will move on to item number 6, the regular item, and I think the only item on our agenda today is the presentation on the 2025 general plan update. So we will have the staff present the information, open it up for clarifying questions to the commissioners, and then open up for public comment, and then back to the commissioners' discussion if needed. And I will turn it over to you.
Hey folks, Thomas McNairn, Associate Planner with Community Development. I just want to give a very brief introduction and tee up our general plan consultant, Melissa Stark, who's going to be going through this presentation with you on the general plan update. It's a great opportunity for you folks to give your feedback and ideas on the early stages of this general plan update process. So I'll turn it over to Melissa, and we are happy to provide any clarifying clarification if you need.
Thanks, Thomas. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Well, good evening. My name is Melissa Stark. I'm an associate at Ramian Associates. And thank you for having me here tonight to talk about the general plan.
It's not PowerPoint, you just gotta scroll.
Got it. Thank you. Okay. All right. So tonight we are going to start off with an update about the general plan process. We're going to go over draft vision and project outcomes, and then review some high-level findings from the Parks and Recreation Existing Conditions Report. Then our main activity for the evening is going to be discussing issues and solutions related to Parks and Recreation here in Davis. We'll share ideas that we've heard thus far through the community engagement process and ask for your input and feedback to meet the vision and project outcomes. So as you know, the Davis General Plan update is split into 5 distinct phases. We're at the initial listing and discovery phase of our work, laying the foundation for the remainder of the project, and we're about to get started on developing land use concepts. So throughout the process, we will be engaging with different commissions as well as City Council. This is the second of 6 different commission meetings where we will be sharing existing conditions, we'll be confirming key issues, and then discussing those strategies or solutions for the general plan update. These meetings will be happening between now and the end of November. And since we've seen you last, we've launched the project website. It is davisgeneralplan.com. Feel free to go there for resources and the latest updates on the project. We have our final existing conditions reports published on the site as they are ready. In August, we had our first community workshop. We had really terrific turnout. About 175 people participated in 7 interactive stations and activities. We have a summary of this event on the project website if you'd like to take a look. And then also we're going to be incorporating some key takeaways from that event in tonight's presentation. And then there are 2 ways that you can continue to engage in the project right now. We have an online survey that's available in English and Spanish. That's through the QR code, and it'll be available through the end of the month. And then in addition, we have this meeting in a box where anyone can host a meeting with friends, neighbors, colleagues, family members. All the materials that you would need to host that meeting are on the project website at this link here, and that will be available through November 14th. And both the survey and meeting in a box mirror the same questions that were available and discussed at the workshop. So tonight, before we get started on existing conditions, we want to make sure to root our conversation in the vision that we hope to achieve through this process. So on the screen is our draft vision statement that establishes where we want to be in the future. So this reads, Davis advances safe, fair, healthy, and sustainable neighborhoods where everyone has what they need to thrive and succeed. So then in addition to our vision statement, we have project outcomes. These are from several community engagement events, including Commission-a-Palooza that was back in April, from meetings with City Council and the community workshop. We have established 4 different domains for the project outcomes. The first is healthy and resilient communities, which is up on the screen now. Following that, community engagement, city leadership, and plan preparation. And healthy and resilient communities cover complete neighborhoods with a mix of uses, prioritization of multimodal and active transportation strategies, a connected and biodiverse park and open space system that includes an outcome focused on housing that meets all the needs of residents at various income levels, and ensures that there's enough locations within the city to meet our housing and jobs need. So these are the remaining project outcomes. Community engagement, which includes listening to new voices or seeking out new voices during the general plan update process. Building knowledge and ownership within the community through the general plan process and beyond. And for city leadership, it includes maintaining the city as a regional leader in policies to create safe, fair, and sustainable communities. Ensuring that the community maintains a high level of public services and maintains positive city revenues through multiple funding streams. And then outcomes related to document preparation include ensuring the general plan update meets recent and emerging best practices and state requirements, ensuring the plan is adaptable to changing conditions, and ensures the planning process in itself and the plan itself are focused and clear on the most critical issues. So setting the stage, now we want to share a high-level overview of the existing conditions analysis for the general plan update. I'm going to start by talking a little bit about the population, share a little bit about disadvantaged communities, and then transition into a discussion about recreation and parks specifically. As a reminder, this is kind of context to help set the stage for our discussion later on, which will focus on issues and strategies. At this time, we're not seeking the feedback on the existing conditions. It's more to help set the stage for that discussion. So starting off with population, to ensure that we're serving the community well with respect to Parks and Rec, it's important that we understand the changing, population and how it's growing. Davis is the most populous city in Yolo County with an estimated population of 65,800 residents in 2023. The city's population has continued to grow over the last several decades, increasing about 44% since 1990. Although there was a slight decline of about 1,000 residents that was reported in 2023, down from the 2020 population. Since the university makes up a significant portion of the Davis community, we thought it was really important to highlight that here. UC Davis has an estimated population of 47,900 students and employees in the 23-24 academic year. Of that, it's estimated that 22,800 students and employees live within the city of Davis, which is close to 47% of the overall UC Davis population. These graphics show the proportion of the population by race and ethnicity in the city on the left, and on the right is a census-designated place that contains UC Davis. This graphic contains 100 squares each, and each square represents 1% of the population. So for example, if you count up all of the dark blue squares on the first graphic on the left, there are 22 squares that represent the proportion of the population that identifies as Asian in Davis in 2010. So at the same time the city's growing, it's becoming more diverse. In particular, the share of the population that identifies as Latino or two or more races has increased, while the share of those who identify as white alone has declined. This generally mirrors statewide trends as well. For comparison, on the right, you can see the self-identified race and ethnicity of folks living within the UC Davis designated place. And again, this information is helpful for us to understand the context of evolving rec, parks, programming, cultural activities, housing, other types of needs and services within the community. And as the population has grown and diversified over the last several decades, it has also aged. The proportion of the population, specifically 65 and over, has grown by almost 60% since 2010. This is generally consistent with the statewide trend, but it's also slightly faster. Likewise, the share of the population under age 18 has declined by about 20%, which is again The statewide share of population under 18 has also fallen, but by only 9%. So it's just a little bit faster here in Davis. This decline in youth is consistent with the reported decline in enrollment in the Davis Joint Unified School District over the last several years. In addition to addressing population changes, it's also important that we address evolving state policy requirements. The state recently passed SB 1425. Actually, the guidance for this just came out, I think, last week, so it's very, very fresh. SB 1425 aims to address equitable access to parks, open space, climate resilience, and ecology, connectivity, and restoration, also called rewilding. So every city and county will now be required to review and update their local open space plan to address these topics. And here in Davis, as well as I think many other cities, these topics will be addressed across several general plan elements. There's a lot of overlap, so I just want to make sure I mention that as well. And then another important and related Senate bill is SB 1000, which is the Planning for Healthy Communities Act. This intends to embed environmental justice into general plan decision-making and includes disadvantaged communities, which are defined as low-income areas that are disproportionately affected by environmental pollution. So this map shows a combination of those areas that are both low-income and have a higher pollution burden. And low-income is defined as being less than 80% of the county median income, which is about $91,000 for a household. This is helpful context as we consider policies to address parks access and access to physical activity. So now I'm going to mention some of the Parks and Rec existing condition report highlights, starting off with key findings. Big picture at a high level, Davis has a strong network of existing parks. Davis has 457-acre network of parks, greenbelts, and other open spaces. The city has excellent access to parks with over 94% of residents within a half-mile walk to a park. That is incredible. The city currently exceeds its park access standard, which is 5 acres per 1,000 residents. I think right now you're at 7. And then some of the issues found in our technical analysis included the lack of sites for new facilities. As the city evolves and changes, there's a desire for additional places, and those sites are just limited now. Increasing demand for recreation programming, and almost $14.7 million in improvements needed over the next 10 years, as defined in the community needs assessment. Some of the things we pointed out as potential funding strategies include joint use agreements, alternative spaces like parklets, finding other smaller sites for future parks and recreation, negotiated public benefits within new development, and even potentially considering a bond measure for new capital improvements. So continuing on with existing conditions for Parks and Rec, this map identifies the location of public, recreation, and governmental or civic facilities across the city. Generally well served by public facilities. There's definitely a larger grouping or clustering near downtown and City Hall. And then others are generally distributed across the central portion of the city. Davis provides a range of recreational facilities and programming, and with an increasing demand and usage. Then moving on to city parks, this map shows the city's existing parks, greenbelts, and special use areas. In total, the city manages more than 457 acres of green space, which includes 260 acres of parks, 197 acres of greenbelts, and a range of other public open spaces and recreational facilities throughout the community. And as I mentioned, the city exceeds the current standard of 5 acres per 1,000 residents. This map highlights the city's current walk access to parks. The lighter areas indicate a shorter walk access, while the darker areas indicate a slightly longer walk access. Majority of Davis residents live within walking distance of parks, though there are a few areas with poor access, which is near I-80 and city boundaries or the periphery of the city. Disadvantaged communities are outlined in red for context. And I would say that it kind of varies. There are some areas where a disadvantaged community has really excellent access and other areas where it has poor access. This figure is that same map, but now it is highlighting areas with concentrations of youth or seniors that are outlined in red. Generally, areas with larger populations of youth and seniors are located towards the periphery of the city, and in some instances, that access might not be as great. So with all that context in mind, we are ready to move into the main activity for the evening, which is to review and discuss critical issues and key strategies for parks and recreation in the general plan update. So first on your screen are a series of key issues that were identified through our community engagement, which includes Commission-a-Palooza that happened in April with 6 of the city's commissions, a city council meeting that took place in May, and then our August public workshop, in addition to our technical analysis. So tonight we're asking you to confirm if we've captured all of the key issues to study in the general plan update and to update this list as appropriate. The list on the left are the key issues reported, and the list on the right are barriers, potential barriers to meeting those needs. Key issues include access to parks and facilities, cost of maintenance, loss of green space within city limits as the city grows, dated or insufficient programming and amenities, declining population of young people, increasing senior population, which results in changing needs, and then declining school enrollment. We also heard a lot about parks and recreation strategies during our initial questions around key issues. So these are just a handful of those strategies. And similarly to the key issues, tonight we want to hear your thoughts and ideas as it relates to park and rec strategies that should be considered for the general plan update. These include expanding amenities and lighting at existing facilities, creating pocket parks, plazas, and other types of creative public spaces or parks, expanding tree canopies, green belts, and connections to existing transit and bike trails. And these are just some ideas that we've heard to spark your creativity tonight as we get into our activity. So our 2 questions for you this evening are really focused in the 2 areas that I mentioned in my presentation. 1, are there any key parks and recreation opportunities that we missed? And 2, what are the key strategies for Parks and Rec that can bridge the gap between the issues and our desired vision and project outcomes? Things to consider while we're thinking about strategies are cross-cutting concepts like disadvantaged communities, new state policies, and the effects of climate change on the community. These are 3 topics that came up extensively during our 6th commission meeting back in April, as well as at the community workshop. And then finally, looking ahead, we're doing a series of pop-up meetings around the community into November. As I mentioned, we have a community survey that's open until the end of the month, as well as the meeting in a box. Then we'll finalize the vision and project outcomes, as well as the key issues list, and prepare a series of key strategies for the general plan based on our discussions with the 6 commissions. And then in addition, we'll be working with the General Plan Committee as well as the Planning Commission Subcommittee to draft land use concepts for this process. So thank you again for allowing me to be here and share a little bit about our work. We are looking forward to hearing your thoughts and feedback. Thank you.
Hold on, just a second, Commissioner Siegel. So at this time, we're gonna go ahead and open it up to commissioners for, did you guys have anything else? Okay. So at this time, we'll open it up to commissioners for clarifying questions only on this topic. Then we're gonna go ahead and open public comment. We'll close public comment and then have discussion. So at this time, if you have a clarifying question, please go ahead and ask. Commissioner Siegel.
So population data that you gave,
use your
which I
microphone?
believe was something like,
Can you use your microphone?
oh, sorry. Thanks, Debbie. I'm just curious, the population data that you gave, which was basically City of Davis, 65,000, and UC Davis, 47,000 students and staff. What part of the 47,000 is included in the 65,000? I'm not quite clear on that.
Yeah, so let me roll back up. So as I understand it, the 22,800 that live within the City of Davis. So that's 40% of the UC Davis population.
So the 65,000 includes the 22,000.
That's my understanding. And
That's your understanding. Okay.
we have our existing conditions report on demographics and population is available on our website, and it dives very deep into the population and demographics information. This is just a little snapshot to provide some context. Yeah, I appreciate that question.
Because that includes undergraduates as well, because 22,000, so there's, as I understand it, there's the total student population of Davis, including graduate schools, is 41,000. And the undergraduates is, trying to remember exactly, something like 34,000. So you're saying that of all the students and staff, 22,800 live within Davis,
The City of Davis.
and that's included in the 65,000.
That's my understanding.
You understand?
Yeah. And the 47,900 is students and employees.
Right.
Okay. Any other commissioners have there? Go ahead, Commissioner Ono.
Yes, I have a question about the general plan update process. Hearing your description of the slides, I was curious about what attempts or what approaches have been used to reach out to disadvantaged communities, new voices, diverse populations within Davis, and also with those that might have new or different cultural interests. I'm not sure how that has been integrated into the process.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. We are partnering with AIM Consulting, which is a community engagement specific firm, and they are kind of the boots on the ground for the community engagement process, supporting us as well as the city. And we have a variety of different strategies that go across the entire general plan update, everything from having stakeholder interviews, having focus groups, doing on-campus engagement, partnering with local places of worship and other kind of minority stakeholder organizations. We've even reached out to some apartments that we know that have some members who are maybe low income or have a different ethnic background. And we're trying to reach out to those folks to help us get in contact with people that are not going to be coming to our public workshop or might not know about the online survey. So we have a lot of different techniques that we are deploying throughout the entire process. And it's definitely a priority for us. And I think we have a little bit more about that on the website as well. Yeah, if that answered that question.
All right, thank you. Looking at some of the statistics provided in the slides, it does show there's a changing demographic. And so to me, would be very important to proactively engage those communities and those individuals, families, social groups, to make sure that they're represented in this update. Thank you.
Sorry, Commissioner, were you done? Okay, thank you. Any other commissioners have?
I have a quick question, this may be more for city staff, but I know there's also a lot of issues of biodiversity and urban forestry came up. I was wondering how much of the urban forestry and biodiversity topic would be discussed in this commission versus I know there's climate commission, just I want to make sure that we're discussing the right things.
Good question, and we will stick to our lane. And then the presentations will be going to the different appropriate commissions to handle those topics.
So are we able to discuss biodiversity and urban forestry here?
That wouldn't be in our commission.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners have any other clarifying questions? Okay. So at this time, we'll go ahead and open public comment. So if there's no public comment, okay, we'll go ahead and close public comment. And then open it up to commissioners for any discussion items that they would like to bring, or if they would like to address either one of these questions for the commissioners. So I'll go ahead and open it up to any of you. Go ahead, Commissioner on the floor.
I think this digs back more into your statistics that you put out. It looked like I was trying to account for these changes, population numbers, and it looked like around 2023 sounds like there were some change in numbers. I mean, can you point to any factors in there? What happened in 2023 that was a change agent?
I can't point to anything specific. I do know that obviously the pandemic changed things for a lot of cities. There was a lot of people that were maybe leaving academic and institutional worlds and moving jobs, relocating, moving home with family. But the decrease in population that we saw was reported in 2023 down from 2020. So it's something that took place between 2020 and 2023 that we saw that about 1,000 resident decline. And I might dive deeper actually into our report and see if there were any theories around that, but I don't have anything to share related to that.
Any other discussion items? Go ahead, Commissioner Siegel.
Thank you. So, if I recall correctly, the group that's changed the most is, well, on one side of the equation, is the elderly. Those over 65 went from 13% to 17% or something like that. 9 to 13, okay. Anyway, so that's roughly a 50% increase. So, I know you haven't done this, made the plan yet, but I do hope you will be noting that, because that seems to me to be about the major change, and I'm not sure exactly if you're consulting people who are experts on the elderly, I guess, 65 or over. I don't know that that's the elderly necessarily, but at any rate, it was striking to me. So I'm sure you're going to be paying special attention to that.
Yes, yeah, and that's why we also wanted to share it, because the population is so important to understand when you're thinking about serving and what the needs are. And I mean, even thinking about recreation and programming needs, it's very different for someone under 18 versus someone over 65. So we definitely want to make sure that the general plan is responsive to the population now, and then kind of projecting out into the future what we think we're going to see in the next 20, 25 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an interesting point, just because at some point you will see the turnover go from that elderly population back, hopefully under 18. And so at that point, when you're doing a general plan like this, it is like you can't necessarily put all your eggs in the basket to address the senior populations, but also keep in mind that at some point it's gonna recycle back, and so you still have to have amenities and not take away opportunity for the under 18 population as well. So that's, I mean, how do you kind of project something like that, and at what time period do you project that? Because it's unclear of when that recycle period kind of happens, you know? And growing up here, I know that like my parents' generation falls into that 65 and older generation, but I'm second generation with my family here. So at some point, you know, that kind of turns again. So how do you take that into consideration when you're talking about a general plan and projecting that far out, when you're not only serving the population that's currently here, but what's to come?
Yeah, sure. That's very important. I mean, one of the major things that we want to do through the general plan is through our goals and policies, we want to not only provide for who's here, but also who we want to attract. So we're thinking about what kinds of policies, programs are going to attract young families, they're going to attract children, they're going to bring children into the schooling system. So it's kind of the twofold, where we're wanting to plan for who's here, but also who we want to be here, in terms of, you know, a diverse population, diverse job opportunities, housing opportunities. And so it's kind of woven throughout the entire plan through our goals and policies.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think the other thing that I just want to generally bring up too is that, you know, we've obviously seen, well, I've served on the committee for several years now, and we've seen each summer the summer programs continue to get sold out, and there's obviously this need in your assessments here for more opportunity. And so for me personally, I would really like to make sure that the general plan does address putting resources into allocating for spaces that can be utilized to expand summer programming for some of the youth. And I know that the city staff does a great job trying to use every nook and cranny that they can, but I do think that it's really critical that if we want to continue to attract families where we see these decrease in populations, to make sure that we continue to try to expand the opportunity for not only the people that are here, but the people that could potentially be coming too. So, yeah, Commissioner Ono, go ahead.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. I had a couple of comments or topics to raise. You mentioned planning for growth. So I think that's an important part of this general plan update. And I know we have 3 developments that may be coming into the city representing over 3,000 household units. And so if we look at average numbers of school-aged children, seniors, I think general stats are 41 to 47 school-aged children per 100 units, and seniors, the census reports 55 seniors per 100 units. And so the question is, I think it was brought up previously, it's not only the facilities, it's also the services, the staffing and contractors. We have special interest classes, senior services, sports, play fields, gyms, camps, aquatics, team programs. If you plan for growth, it's not just facilities, it's how do you plan for that growth in the demand. It's not just facilities, it's people. So that's important for me to see in a general plan update as to beyond capital improvements, what is being done to support that growth. The other item that caught my attention was the prioritizing maintenance of existing facilities and funding. I know that Measure H currently funds about 18% of park maintenance, as I understand it from the city website. That only increases 2% a year. When you look at the CPI has increased 3.6% over the last 7 years. So we are losing dollars for park maintenance. And so that makes it a real challenge as to how to move forward. So I think that needs to be perhaps considered. What are the rates and should they be adjusted for inflation, for labor costs? Labor continues to increase, and how do we budget for that? How do we support that? And then the last thing I saw was the attention to park bond measure for new capital improvements. I think that is an option that could be an opportunity, but I really think it's important that any type of park bond measure specify clearly what is included and what's not. And the same thing with some of the new development projects that are proposed for the city. I'd like to see capital improvements or new parks, new services built into the ballot measure and not left up to development agreements. Because I live in the cannery and we've seen how development agreements are altered, sometimes necessarily, but it's different than what perhaps people perceived in the ballot measure. So I think those are interests from my perspective, and hopefully that input is useful.
Thank you, Commissioner. Go ahead, Commissioner LaFleur.
Yeah, I also wanted to compliment you on your presentation. Shows that you've done a lot of work here. I had a few points, and actually in relation to your comment on development agreement versus language in a ballot. I could see kind of a two-edged sword there also. A problem I would see with putting in the ballot measure is it pretty well hardens that in stone, which could come back and bite you at another point in time in the development. So I'd say that's, I could go one way or the other on that, but I see where you're going with it. I was wondering about the role of UC Davis in all of this. Your study noted that, in fact, the campus is used by citizens for park and recreation purposes. It's kind of like this de facto park open space thing right attached to our city. And I certainly use it for various things, not just for park and recreation purposes. So I wonder what kind of weight the presence, the role UC Davis has on what you're finding in this part of the general plan update. I know this is kind of a qualitative question, but it seems like a lot of cities don't have the benefit of a university sitting right there and providing these kind of de facto park and rec services. So I just wonder, for general plan purposes though, how do you recognize that? How do you give that some kind of weight or value?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a little bit of a challenge because on the one hand, it's outside city limits and it's outside city control. But on the other hand, it's this incredible benefit and there's an incredible partnership with the city that we do want to call attention to and continue to nurture over the life of the general plan. So I think, as much as possible, we are pointing out the relationship there and then finding ways to continue that relationship, build upon it, and consider, future partnerships, maybe continuing ones that are in place and considering the ones that maybe are not yet in place.
Okay, fair enough. And I had a last just question. The role of CEQA in all of this. Where is CEQA triggered in this general plan update process?
Well, first of all, I'm not a CEQA expert, so I'll just get that out of the way. But the general plans typically call for a programmatic EIR. That is something that is not part of our contract that the city will be initiating further down the line. But it would be a programmatic EIR.
Okay, some kind of functional equivalent of a standalone CEQA process.
Yeah, we would prepare growth projections that then would be analyzed. And I don't know if anyone at the city wants to add on to that. That's typically the process that's done.
I just kind of wonder if there's going to be some point down the way then by something triggered by CEQA where there'd be another bite at the apple of all of this.
I'm sorry, I can't sit there and say you. My name is Sherry Metzger. I'm the Community Development Director for the City of Davis. What we have decided to do here is have Ramey and Associates prepare the document that will ultimately be analyzed by an environmental impact report. So what we will be doing is spending the next couple of years putting that document together, making sure that it reflects the policies that you all would like to see in your general plan. And when it is finished, or finished to a point where we think it needs to be, we're ready to have it analyzed, it will have an EIR prepared for it. So what the goal typically is with general plans is to have a document that is what they call self-mitigating. In other words, the policies themselves mitigate for the potential impacts of anything that is built underneath of the general plan. So does that answer your question a little better?
I think it helps, yes. I'm just trying to understand how the CEQA framework overlays this, and I think that helps quite a bit with what you just said. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So the EIR won't come for many, 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 many more months, I'm afraid.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that.
Go ahead, Commissioner Morito.
Okay, we can scroll to the UC Davis population one, because I just want to make sure I'm clarifying this correctly. So you said that that 22,800 is built into the 65,000, correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay, and that 47%, that's of the UC Davis population, that's not of the city population.
Right.
Okay, just trying to, I was like doing my numbers, I'm like, that doesn't make sense. So you're saying 47% of the UC Davis,
Roughly 48,000.
yeah, or the 22,800 is, of the UC Davis is, that's 47%. Okay, that 47%, I was like, if you said that, that's not 47% of the city population.
Go ahead.
Thanks. So let me ask you a question, because it was raised before, and two things I want to ask you about. The first is, do you project that the proportion of people over the age of 65 is going to increase, decrease, stay the same? I mean, in terms of planning purposes, I think that would be important, because, you know, I mean, this notion, I mean, I don't know if it's, I'm not sure that I necessarily prefer one age group over another, frankly, but what is the reality? Do you have any sense of that?
I personally don't have any way of predicting what that's going to look like in the future.
You don't. Isn't that,
Well,
wouldn't, I mean, it seems
There are a
like
lot-
planning.
there are a lot of factors that would go into, obviously, and we can't predict the future as much as we'd like to think we can. But we, you know, we have a great expert on our team that is specific in economics, and I can perhaps ask if we have a way to find out what that
Well, I'm sure
population
there, it seems
breakdown
like,
might look like.
yeah.
We can assume that it's, well, actually, you know,
Because the cost of housing, which I think is a big factor here,
absolutely.
is not going to go down, I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong.
The cost?
The cost of getting a house would be, you would have more young
Does
people
it
in
ever?
Davis if the cost of housing goes down.
It never goes
I
down.
don't think that's going to happen, right?
No. I would say that, okay, let me back up. The timeframe for this particular general plan is about 20 years. And so we would expect the planning horizon to end sometime around 2045, 2050. If you look at the typical life expectancy for anybody born to the baby boomer generation, which would be people between 1946 and 1964, you are well dead smack solid within this time frame. So I do think that older people are going to play a rather significant role in the population demographics of the city of Davis for at least the time frame of this particular general plan. Now, what it means in terms of the greater context of the country and what makes up the rest of the demographics of the city of Davis, I think we have to work with her expert to get a better handle on that. And that's something that we would be coming, that kind of information is something that we would be coming back to all the commissions with in the future. Because you're
That's
right,
good.
it
I think,
affects
I
lots of
think
things.
needs vary, between
Yeah,
parents with young children or people who are over the age of 65.
correct. I mean, for example, we may not need as many parks if everybody's 65 and over.
Well, there's an assumption there that
Hey, yeah.
people over the age
Saying.
of 65 don't use parks, which I have to say, at least personally, that's not the case. I use a lot of the stuff in the parks. So there's one other thing, and I don't know if it's been raised by anybody else, but I seem to notice it every time I pick up one of my grandchildren. In Davis, I have 3 grandchildren. And maybe you have a response to it. I'm sure you've thought about it. It seems that car pollution, congestion is directly affected by the fact that we don't have school buses. And where I grew up, we had school buses, and it wasn't as affluent a community as Davis by far. And so I'm just curious if this is somewhere being discussed. Maybe it's not part of our purview. I will grant you, but I picked up 2 of my grandchildren today. Certainly around the elementary school and junior high school, it was like congested, lots of cars, lots of emissions, lots of this, lots of that. Is that just not being considered by anybody?
Well, I would hope that it would be considered by the school district, since they are the operators of the school bus. You got to remember that the purpose of the general plan is to deal with land use issues and how they relate to what is or isn't approved in the city. So the operation of schools, school buses, who goes to school, what they get taught in the school, those are not under the purview of the city. And so therefore, they typically would not be included in a land use general plan.
With traffic congestion, because
Traffic congestion would be.
I saw it on one of the documents that talked about that.
Yes, but it's the issue of general traffic, not related specifically to any one particular type of traffic.
Okay, I think that's a little bit outside our purview here at the Recs and Parks Commission, but is there any other, okay, go ahead.
I wanted to ask the consultants if there was any specific outreach you were doing to the student population, since we do make up quite a portion of the UC Davis population.
Yes, we're actually, I think, in the process of setting up a tabling event on campus, and then working also with existing channels between the city and the campus to push out word about the survey. And then we have some things in the works later on in the process. We haven't exactly nailed down exactly what we're going to do, but we do want to partner with students on campus and get them very heavily involved in kind of the next phase of work.
That sounds amazing. Sort of related to that, I was, with the strategies, I was looking at specifically there's a bullet point that says expand recreational programming. And I know we've seen a demand of specifically recreational programming, I believe, geared towards tweens and teens and seniors. And I think that it should be specifically addressed in the general plan. I'm also curious if there's a demand for recreational programming for your young adults. I'm not saying that there is a demand. I'm not sure if there's a demand. I'm just curious if there is, since we do have quite a big young adult population, if that's something that could be seen with the recreational programming. I think those were my main thoughts.
Great, any other thoughts before we go ahead and move on to the final item? No? Okay, great, so we'll go ahead and close out item 6. Thank you very much for your time and all of everybody else's input. So we will move on to item number 7, which is the commissioner calendar. So at this time, we'll go ahead and review the calendar, and I will turn it over to Tamika or Deanne, whoever is gonna talk calendar.
Okay, so not much difference from last month. We have nothing scheduled for November, so it's looking like we will get the month off. And in December, we're on recess, so you get that month. Happy holidays. So then we would just come back in January, which usually we do kind of, we talk about new chair. We usually go through, I think our, what's it called? January is our AB 2404 training video again. And we'll be bringing strategic plan information to let you guys know where we are and what we've been doing in this last year since we've been working on it. So, looks like you have the holidays off. We don't have anything scheduled unless something comes down from council between now and when I would send out the agenda packet. Sounds good? Yes. No, not today, Bob. Go ahead.
I was wondering about the topic of parks and daylight law. We had talked about adding that in the future, and it seems like it rolled off. Is that not going to?
I had conversations with Ryan Chapman, and he was prioritizing the curb painting for the downtown area, and then they had some new changes that they've implemented along Fifth Street for the IJK streets. And so that was his priority right now, but I did let him know that we've talked about it here in the commission and that there was some interest in having some curb painting around major community parks. And so that has been put into his task list of like where the priorities are from our commission.
So would it be appropriate for Ryan to come and describe that, what his plans are sometime in the future? It might be in the new year.
I will talk to him. I don't know necessarily, I'd have to look and see how we could get daylighting fitted into Rec and Park.
Well, it's safe access to our parks.
Yes. So it crosses over, so I'll just have to talk with him and see if it's something where he would be willing to come or if he's willing to prepare something that we share.
Okay. And you report back if he's not willing. Sure.
Hopefully I won't have
Okay.
to.
All right, thank you.
Great. Any other items for discussion? Would open public comment for, okay, great. We love that. Close public comment. Any other discussion items? All right, well, we are going to, if there's no objections, we're going to adjourn the meeting at 7:35. Thanks, everyone. All right. I was 5 minutes late, but we're in.
Made it for it.